You know, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
I'm gonna keep my big VA, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
We know what we need, we know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host. I'm Clay Douglas. My guest was supposed to be Jamie, and he was supposed to be in here at supposed to be answering the phone about 30 minutes ago, and but they've got a snowstorm up there, and that might be what's happening up there. Now, I've made some additions up onto the Free American site, and I think you need to check it out. You need to go there and take a look. We've got some, there's an interesting film I've got there. It's called Propaganda. And it's made, evidently, in North Korea. But it's not really propaganda from North Korea. It's really an accurate story that I could have written about our own government. Let me see if I can share a little bit of that with you. Now, I've left a message for Jamie to call me.
Call recording has been completed.
Oh, shit. No, I didn't want to do that. Okay. I screwed up. Let me get it back. Let me see. All right. Okay, that won't work. Too bad. Let me try it a different way. We'll try it a different way here. And see if we can get this back up. But let's see what we can do here. Propaganda. I talked about that. Starts out with a little bit of Chinese writing. Or, I'm sorry, Korean. So we can get it up here. It says, these revelations are the direct results of the miraculous visions of our eternal president, who in his eternal wisdom commissioned intellectual observers. Our dear leader has now recalled one observer to his beloved homeland to share the discoveries he made under the invincible leadership of the eternal president. This is coming from North Korea.
I want to help. I do.
This is a film about psychological warfare. A specific type of warfare designed to distract, misinform,
But trust me,
and anesthetize the brain.
And they're talking about Americans here. George Bush here.
It has many disguises and is used against every one of them, against them, and against them.
Welcome to TalkShoe. Please enter the call ID followed by the pound key.
Of course, such Machiavellian activity requires a disguise, which is why propagandists call themselves the public relations industry.
You are now joining the call.
Public relations and
You are
propaganda
unmuted.
are interchangeable, and it is the massive public relations industry that is designed to alter perception, reshape reality, and manufacture consent.
A Hollywood set designer was brought in to create a $200,000 backdrop for official war briefings.
Today, America alone has more public relations propagandists than reporters, which means that nearly half of what people in the West hear, see, or read is written by professional liars.
Now that's interesting. They're saying that these speeches, Roger Ailes, Fox News CEO and chairman, they are selling you lies. So to get this this insight from North Korea is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. It's if you think about it, folks, what they've been doing, these television have been bombarding you with ads for these candidates, Romney, Obama. Over $500 million has been spent on advertising for these two parties, two wings of the same bird. That's why I wanted to have Jamie on my show today, because this is really the problem. This is really the problem. And let me see if I can even put it better for you. Let me see if I can put it better for you. You know who Charlie Reese is? He was the columnist for a Miami paper and or national paper, and he really did a number on our Congress. Now, in my belief, I believe these congressmen should be put in jail. They should be just taken out and arrested and tried for treason. Again, that's why we wanted a different thing on it. Alright, that ain't working here. Let's see if we can find this somewhere else. Sorry about this. When a guest doesn't show up, kind of screws me up a little bit. But, and I don't like the sound. I don't like the sound on the other one, but let's see what we can do here. Now, we're just looking for this Charlie Reese thing. Let me see if I've got it marked here. We're getting a lot of stuff in about troops ordered to kill all Americans who do not turn into guns. I'm not going that. I'm not going that way. And I've done the Harold Rosenthal interview, so I'm not doing that again. All right. If Congress, if we can't if everybody we vote for, whether they're Republican or Democrat, if that's two wings of the same bird, what they are doing, they've spent, this is not how much you've donated, they have spent $500 million. $500 million between the Republicans and the Democrats. $500 million. Now that's just what they've spent. That's not what they paid out on salaries. That's not what they've been giving their congressmen who keep getting raises, who don't have to pay. These are the elitists. Congress has turned into a Politburo, a communist enclave that is determined to change this country into a police state. Now, the shooting up in Denver, this shooting in Denver, that was part of the thing. That was part of the thing that that's the mind control. You know, just like Waco was a mind control operation. See how much you take. And, you know, whatever they promised this kid, whatever they did to him, they probably, I mean, nobody shot him, he just sat down. So there's a real problem with that. But again, this is just scratching the surface. This is just the symptoms. This is what they did at Waco. This is what they did at Ruby Ridge. This is what they did at Oklahoma City. This is what they did at 9/11. And 9/11 was to start a nuclear war. This was to start that was the start of the nuclear war. They just didn't tell you it was nukes. New kind of nuke. Didn't make the national or mushroom crowd. It was more condensed, more focused, so it goes straight up and out into space. Now, that's really what's happening. Hillary's in there signing this bill. Now, not legal. You got your Constitution on it, but it's a war against the Constitution. It's communist war, folks. It's exactly what it is. And I've been reporting on this 20 some odd years. It gets a little worse every year. You know, after what happened to Waco, we thought Janet Reno and Bill Clinton should have been tried. They weren't. Nobody in the BATF was tried. Nobody in the BATF has been tried for Operation Fast and Furious, running guns to Mexican drug dealers, killing our Border Patrol agents. And, of course, they've been doing that for quite a few years, almost 10 years. They've been arrested Border Patrol agents for busting drug dealers who are running the bankers' crops up here. The bankers control the drugs. The CIA controls the drugs. The Mossad controls the drugs. And those agencies are controlled by your government. Now, all of these movies are violent. All of these movies are about shooting people. This is desensitizing. This is part of the propaganda that this Korean film was talking about. And I started this, and the militias in New Mexico. You know, it's like you get demonized for that. What part of the Second Amendment don't you understand? They are trying to destroy the Constitution. The Constitution represents the one threat to their thing. Now, you've been under a propaganda attack for 100 years. 100 years next year. The Rothschilds, the bankers have bought up Reuters, they bought up NBC, they bought up Walt Disney, they bought up all that. When you print your own money, you can buy just about anything. And then you staff it with your loyal employees. And by the way, the largest employer in America today is the federal government, with Homeland Security, with all of their little bureaus that are simply designed to control everything, to suppress dissent, and allow them to keep control. That's why they demonize people like me. That's why they hire these little fake little trolls to come in and go, have you been beating your, when did you quit beating your wife? You know, this is a Jewish type tactic. This is Zionist type tactic. This is what they do. They train people over there in Israel to get on the internet Sometimes they do it out of Nigeria. They train the people to do that, to take your money, to rip you off. It's a con, and so is your political parties. Because those political parties you donated to turn around and give their money to the media companies. Can't you see that's a scam? Now, what is the answer? And that's what I want to talk about today. Hopefully I'm reaching somebody out there that isn't just recovering from the Patriot movement, because the Patriot movement has been infiltrated, taken over. You know, they do that. They come up with outrageous theories, like maybe possibly Judy Wood saying, I don't say that she's part of it, but you come up with this because they don't want you to know it was blown up by nukes brought in, smuggled in by Israel. They don't want you to know that. They want to blame it on the Arabs, and they can do that because they control the press. That is why I started the Free American in the first place, because I didn't like the way that the press was reporting on Waco. They wanted you, we had to go in there and kill them all to save them from a child molester. No, that ain't right. That is part of the program. And come on, folks. They killed 60 million people in Russia. They killed 10 million people in the Ukraine after the Bolsheviks, who were Jews, took over. Marx and Lenin were Jews. Read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. They'll label you anti-Semitic if you even look at it and read it, because they are scared to death that you will know the truth, and that the 98% will finally rise up and put these Jews in jail, try them for treason, to every dual citizen out there. Everybody that's working for the banking systems needs to find a different job. By default, and the press, the mainstream is press, so they're preparing you for something. This is all going to fall down. You're going to lose everything. Oh. I disagree. And frankly, they have known for almost 8 years that I have the answer. And that may be after the Liberty Village came out in the Free American, and a centerfold of the Free American magazine, distributed nationally. Suddenly, you know, I always thought it was 9/11. I thought it was because I put building number 7 on the cover. But now I think it's because I came up with a plan for Liberty Village. And then they pulled all the stops out. The governor, I was going to buy a town. I raised over $250,000 on shortwave in 1 month. Put it into a trust account to buy a town. Buy a town. $3 million. Raised $250,000 pay down on it. Had an accident and ended everything. And the idea behind Liberty Villages, you know, you got the trolls out there, you got the Sarnians, you got these people out there that are trying to demonize, trying to change the thought processes, trying to misdirect you, trying to frighten you, trying to shut you up. And what is the answer? We can't, you know, we can't go into the offices of the World Bank. We can't go into the Federal Reserve. It certainly doesn't do any good to march outside of it. And how do we deal with that? You have been anesthetized. You have been programmed. Your television, your Hollywood media, who's all controlled by Jews, to misdirect you, to plant these seeds of violence in your brain. That Batman movie may have just been, you know, subconscious programming. We don't know. But you can be sure that after interviewing Kathy O'Brien and other mind-controlled people that have been in that they have the ability to do this, and that they do it to certain people for certain conditions. We know that. How do we deal with this? How do we? How you know? I've said the problem is how do you deal with this? How do you fight evil without becoming? It's a problem. In the 20th century, we killed 250 million people in wars, or more. A million here, a million there. Vaccine here, AIDS here, whatever. This has all been done purposely to cull the herd. To cull the herd. Because the Jews, the Zionists, call them whatever you want. I'm going to call them Jews because they have tried to make it so. You can't use the word Jew. You can't. Well, we can call ourselves a Jew. You know, we can call ourselves niggers, but you can't. We can call ourselves Jews, but you can't because you are the slave. You are the underprivileged. Now they plan to wipe out 3/4 of the Earth's population, reduce it to a manageable 500 million, and they wrote that in stone. You can believe they intend to follow that. You can believe they will follow that. Again, how do you oppose this? Now, anytime, I've said that anytime a communist regime takes over a country, the first thing they go for is the farmers. Now, our farmers have been under attack for 100 years. When they removed hemp from our fields in the 30s, they stole $2 billion crop. They sent it to China. Now, you got 10,000 products made out of hemp. They're probably available on your Walmart shelves, but you got to grow it in China, or you got to grow it in Canada, or you got to grow it in. And I just did an article. About this, and I sent this out on an email, and I told people on my email list, if you don't respond, I'm taking you off. I'm taking you off. I am tired of useless people out there doing nothing, and if you don't want to do nothing, I just want to stay below the radar. I just don't want to call attention to myself. I just don't want to call attention to myself. That's what they do all the time. They're scared, and they want you scared. They want you to be frightened. That is the way they rule. Be afraid. Be very, very afraid. We're coming to get, the government's coming to get, oh, they're going to do this, well, look, folks, it has never been easy to be free. Never been easy to be free. And how they do that is divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. And I just had an old friend who's been on my show many times tell me she can't help me. She can't help me because I talk about marijuana. Now, V.K. Durham, Grandma, is a wonderful woman who supposedly controls the Durham Trust. Her husband was murdered, and she was supposedly kidnapped. Her story has been told as it unfolded on my radio show many times over the years. And I've got links on the article, and the article is up on the Free American, so you can read that. She wants to return to the United States to sovereignty. She talks about these gold bonds that were set up a long time ago, but the Bush cabal supposedly has use these to collateralize this trust, If you want the country to be bailed out, to contact your congressman and demand that the Durham Trust be used for its intended purpose, the restoration of the U.S. constitutional government infrastructure and a return of jobs as required by the trust. Well, guess what? I'm all for that. And she asked that you go to your state representative's request to the treasurer of your state activate the Durham Trust. I wanted to do that. Her latest email got me excited because it fit well into my plan to get this article out to mainstream outlets that are still interested in solutions to the international bankers' scams that are making headlines even in the controlled press. But when I called her to chat, as she is likely to do every morning, she told me she could not work with me because someone had told her not to forward my articles or even the shows that she was on because I talk about marijuana. Now let's see. Oh, Clay, you'd just be all right. You'd be just so much better off if you just didn't talk about marijuana or Jews. My God. Let's see. And here, I was pretty much floored. I was pretty much floored. Now, I did not call her that day to talk about marijuana. She brought it up as a reason she could not allow me to work with her or contact sheriffs, governors, or legislators on her behalf. And this was the written part of the conversation. Now, I have a solution, folks. I told you I have a solution. It's called Liberty Villages. I'm going to talk about it in the last half, because it's really important that you understand exactly what the plan is. But Grandma didn't want to talk about that, didn't want to talk about Liberty Village. She can't afford to go to the doctor, can't afford to get the teeth fixed, doesn't have a car, doesn't have any transportation, and that's how people are able to take advantage of her. But I wanted to help. Not asking for money. Keep this in mind. I'm not asking for money. I've always worked on a commission. If I can set this up, I'll make a percentage of it. If you want to buy a generator, I'll make a percentage of it. If you want to buy a book, I'll make a percentage out of it. But you'll also pay for the printers. You'll also pay for all these other companies that are doing this. This is the way the economy works. So if somebody doesn't want me to do Liberty Villages, doesn't want me to do this radio show, doesn't want me to do the Free American, then there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason. And Grandma says, I cannot get this trust involved with drugs. These phones are monitored. The IRS is on this line due to Ray Ehrman's conversation this morning. And I said, I am a reporter. I have nothing to do with drugs other than medical marijuana. Of course, no one wants to be alerted when their conversations are being listened to by the adversary who would do nothing more to haul all of our asses to jail. This isn't about drugs, and you are an idiot to be led in this way. The CIA and BATF are involved in drugs. The banks are involved in drugs. I am not. The conversation is about the #1 agricultural product that was stolen for us by the same people that are stealing our monies and companies. But you don't want to talk about hemp, what doesn't even get you high. 10,000 products are made out of hemp. Our cars were made out of hemp by Ford, but you have to buy 10,000 products, but you got to buy them from China or Canada. I have no time for stupid people. I will not call again. That's probably best, considering you were told the phones were hot, and yet insisted on continuing on the same subject, knowing full well they could arrest me and confiscate this trust. They can't arrest you for talking about a bill before Congress to legalize hemp. My phones are hot, too. I do not talk about anything illegal. You should know that, but I will share your email and our conversations about hemp and your rejection of me